different in default architectures, right? That is what we will look at. Then what is cloud CDN and why use one? Right? That is the main thing, and why AWS has started giving that service. Okay, if you see, CDN is nothing but content delivery network. Okay, and it's like it has large distribution of caching servers. So what happens is, as I spoke last time also, like whenever you uh, build any web services or any applications which are to be hosted on web and people can access it through web, you need to have and you need to access it faster, right? It, like, I cannot wait for a minute for a page to load. Okay, so that latency I do not want, and if I don't want that latency, I cannot build a server in US and then say for India go and access that server. That might take time. That is long process, right? It can take time. So what they do is they build uh, servers, caching servers across the world. Your main server lies there in US, maybe. I'm just taking an example, but your caching servers are there in different cities. Suppose in India it is in Mumbai, right? For AWS. For Singapore it is in Singapore. For Japan it is in Tokyo, something like that, right? In Korea it is in Seoul. So it's like that. New York, California, a lot of places, right? 68 places which we spoke about. So they do those servers, like companies like Akamai who build this. Like they have billions of dollars revenue. Why? Because they provide this network. Because people don't want to build those caching service, again kind of data center, right? Where you're storing a lot of servers there. So they build that, and then from there you start giving your services, right? So, and automatically routes viewers to the best location. Automatic routing happens. You don't have to do anything. You just say that I'm going to use these caching servers in this region or in this city. So when you when you sign a contract with them, you can use those uh, locations, and by default you just have to do some setups which we are going to do now. Then it directly internally routes your request to them. Okay, then caches appropriate content at the edge. Now what do you mean by that, caches appropriate content? Like when you build some applications or when you do some settings on Cloudfront, it's your responsibility to tell the caching server to cache the content, right? Which content you want to store. Like suppose I say that this video or the person who is coming from uh, Pakistan, whenever he's asked anything, he asks Pakistan or India, whenever he asks that request, I don't want that content to be cached. He has to always go to the origin, right? We'll talk about what is origin. Origin, then it will not be cached. It's something like that. Those rules you can build, right? Then accelerates dynamic content, right? It's like, it's the same similar thing, right? You want to go back to your server, go back or wherever, whatever is there in the origin server, you can go and bring it. Provides scalability and performance of application, definitely, right? Now your load, if your data is there in the caching server, you're not going to go back to your origin server, right? So that increases your scalability, right, and performance also, because you're not putting all the load on your origin server, right? That is general concept of CDN. Now, if you talk about Amazon's CloudFront, now initial years Amazon was not in this business, but as and when people started using AWS, they realized potential of AWS. Then when they started using, they had to go to other, they build their applications, servers and all that, but when they wanted to use those CDN networks, they had to go to other server companies, right? So what Amazon said was, why do we need to do that? Why can't we build our own CDN networks? That is where they started building CDN networks. And if you see here, all the features which are there in those CDNs, it is there in Amazon as well. okay, and it's easier for us. I'll show you how it cost effective it becomes. Okay, if you see this picture, yeah. Now, if you're on the left-hand side, you have EC2 instance, and we'll talk about this origins. Okay, your origins are there. Now, somebody is asking this information asked by a user. Now, what happens is, as I said, it directly doesn't come to the user. There is a CDN network in between. Okay, see here. There is a CDN network in between, and then that information is given to users. Now, if you see this CDN in between, this CDN between is if of third party supposedly, it is not of Amazon. What happens? If you see on the left hand side, these are Amazon services. You build the application here, and when it goes to CDN, and from then CDN it is coming to users, right? This is how it works. CDN, it doesn't go, if that information is not there in this CDN cache server, then it is going back and bringing that information. That is how it works. But now if you see here, the whole charge, like bringing the data from AWS to CDN and from CDN to the user, is charged to the person who has developed that applications, right? That is how it works. But if you start using Amazon's CloudFront, the cost of bringing the data from your origin servers to the CloudFront is not charged to the customers. So that is why it becomes cheaper also. Plus, if you are using Amazon services itself, it becomes more efficient because they have built their applications like that, build their networks like that, that if my services are within my premises or within my data centers or cache servers, I'll build, because they have that control, right, to build that properly, or we build efficiently. That is their own control. It is not third party control, right? So that is what. So it makes pricing also cheaper. Okay. Okay. I thought somebody had a question. This again is highly secure, there are security measures you can apply, all that stuff. Scalable, performant, ease of use. I'll show you how easy it is to use CloudFront. Okay, and there are different components to it, distributions, origins. I don't want to go through all the slides from here, which is not required for our exams. We will look at some of them, and I'll show you practically how to do the CloudFront. Now there are distributions. There is web distribution and RTMP distribution. Web distribution is normal web applications. RTMP distribution is like you have Adobe Flash video, right? So for that, there is a different protocol, RTMP protocol, which is being used. So if you want to generate any CloudFront for that, there is an option given in AWS. So there are two distributions which are given by Amazon. Then your origins is where is your applications being installed? Is it in EC2? We just saw it can be on S3 as well, right? So your dynamic sites can be on EC2, static sites will be on S3, or you can have elastic load balancers. We are going to see that EC2 is serving elastic load balancer is going to EC2 and bringing that information. But now elastic load balancer is my main source, right? So you can give your origin as elastic load balancers also. We are going to see what are elastic load balancer on auto scaling next week. Next Saturday we will do that. Tomorrow we are going to do VPCs. So that is what behaviors and all that stuff I will show you, and then edge locations, price classes, we'll talk about them in a moment. Okay. See, origins is, this is how you will get the abc2123.cloudfront.net. Now yesterday we got an S3 link, right, to go and access the site. Now that will be different than here. Now here we will get the CloudFront what you say URL to access the our content from your site. Now see this origin, I was talking about origins, right? I can have different origins. See S3 bucket because I have S3 website here, static website, EC2 instance, or your web servers are there on EC2 instances, or I am serving my services through Elastic Load Balancer, right? So these three can be my origins to this Cloudfront. Okay, and there can be custom origin also. So it is, so CDN network which is built by Amazon is not restricting you to only use Amazon services. Okay, so it is saying if you have any custom origin, that also, that is your custom server, right? Your own server, not custom server, it's your own server, where from where you want to use CDN network of Amazon, that is also possible. Okay. These are different behaviors: signed URL, headers, uh, and SSL certificates and all that. Time to live, gzip compression, we will talk about it when we do exercise or a lab. Okay, so we will do that in a moment. Okay, but before that I'll show you how the architecture looks like. Okay, see, this is your how your architecture looks like. Okay, on the left hand side is my origins. It can be dynamic content from EC2. You see here on the left hand, it's a corporate data center. I said this is my custom origin, right? Static content origin or dynamic content origin. This is my custom origin, custom corporate data center. Now here on the top hand side, it is Amazon's S3 bucket or EC2 instance, right? Or a load balancer. This is my, it can be anything, right? I can have multiple origins also. It's not required that for a single CloudFront, I'm giving only one origin. Okay, so I can have multiple origins. It goes to regional cache, edge cache. I'll talk about regional edge cache. Okay, then it goes to your edge location. Okay, and then to the users. That is how I showed in a diagram also, which I drew, right? So your Himanshu were asking whether should I use only ABC123 Cloudfront.net. No, you do not have to do that. Use Route 53 or CNAME or DNS naming things. Register your website, your domain name, and start using normal website name. You can do that. It's not required that you should use ABC123, but you have to do those registrations and then start using that, similar to what we spoke about for S3 website. Okay. Any questions on this? Any questions, guys? Okay, looks like no question. Hey, hi Deepak. Okay, so we will do a lab for it. Okay, go to your uh, management console. Okay, now I have this website already here, right? So what I'll do is I'll go to CDN CloudFront. Where is this CloudFront? I'll show you here. Let me show you. See, in networking and content delivery, you will see CloudFront. So already have one. I didn't delete this. It might be charging like anything to me. Okay. Now, so when I come here, I'll get this, because I don't, initially I had, so I got that picture. Now I do not have anything. So I'll do create distribution. Okay. Now I said there are two types, right? Web distribution, which is using HTTP and HTTPS here, or RTMP. It says using Adobe Flash media servers and the RTMP protocol. Okay, just remember there are two types whenever you go for exam. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to do a normal web distribution. and say get started. Now if you see here, it is giving me origin settings from where my data is coming, where is my origin, right? So I am going to select the, see here, it gives me two options as of now. So what we will do is, where is my website? This is my website, right? So I'm going here. Okay, I don't have any path within that website. I want to use some path. Okay, only go to this path within that website. I don't want to do that, or in this bucket. I will just select that. I don't have anything like that. Now restrict access bucket. Okay, I'll do, I want to do restrict access bucket, right? I don't want everybody to access that. So I say yes. Along with that, I need to create a new identity. What does it mean? It means that if I am enabling this restrict access bucket and origin access identity, people who are logging in to trying to access this website will be able to only access through Cloudfront. I do not want people to directly go to my bucket. Okay, that is what it means. So that is why I'm restricting this, because that is why I'm creating this CloudFront also. People, I don't want people to go back to my bucket. I want them to come through this CloudFront. Okay, and I'll say I'll update bucket policy, because I want to give this CDN access to this bucket. Okay, this is so simple. See, just click and do this settings. You can also go and try. Now, if you see here, there are default behaviors, right? Cache behaviors. Now, viewer protocol policy. How do I want people to access my website? Either to HTTP and HTTPS. Okay, both they can access using both of them, or I want to direct anybody is doing HTTP. I want to redirect HTTP request to HTTPS, or only HTTPS. People with HTTPS access can access this, right? That is what you can do. Okay, then HTTP methods. I don't know whether you have heard about HTTP methods. So there are methods which we can apply in the header request of every request which comes to your website. Okay, that is called as get, head, options, put, post, patch, delete. We are not here to discuss them in detail. That is, the class is not meant for that. Only thing is, you have to remember that there are such options when you do HTTP and HTTP access. This doesn't come in exam, but you should know this. Okay, that whenever I do that, in that header request, I can do multiple things. Okay, supposedly I can put a request like TTL, how long the request which I am making currently. Suppose I'm accessing some uh, uh, what a game. Okay, I'm trying to access a game. Now that game, how long I want to keep that game information or game in the caching server. That TTL, time to leave, I can mention in my header. But by default it comes through your GET request. So if your CDN network picks that information and keeps that in your game information in the caching server for that period of time. So that is one of the examples. Like now, second is your language. Now I come from India. I want to access this website in Hindi. Somebody comes from Europe or Spain. He want to access that website in Spanish. So you give that information in your header and say that I'm accessing that information in this language. Okay, that also can be done. And if that information is to be stored in cache or not, that also can be mentioned in such cases. Okay, so these methods are allowed in your CDN network. That is what they are meaning here. Rest, we are going to keep it as it is. Now TTL, this is important thing to remember. Like what is the default time to leave? Default time to leave means how long the information which we are caching will be staying on the caching server. Okay, I need to mention it somewhere, right? That how long this information has to be kept in caching server, because my information might change, right? So for example, this, right? if you see here, I have an origin here on the, see on the right hand side. This is my origin, so not on the right hand side, see on the left hand side. I have an origin here. I want to give this information at edge location. This is my CDN network edge locations. Now how long that information has to be stayed in this, right? That has to be mentioned. So that comes by default is 24 hours. So whenever an user is accessing that information, if that data is cached and people are accessing, that 24 hours that information is kept in that TTL. Okay, according to the TTL, you can change it. Okay, this is the maximum amount you can give. Okay, so you can change it. It doesn't matter whether you can want to change it or not. Then what happens is your restrict viewer access using signed URLs, right? Sometimes what happens is you are giving access. Now supposedly you are accessing this now here we are going to upload these videos, right, on wherever we want to upload so that you can access them. Now I don't want anybody else and come and access that videos. I want to give it to authorized people itself, right? Now how to achieve that in CDN in Amazon? You can create signed URLs. You can say restrict viewer access using signed URLs. Click it there so that it will create an user ID password for you. When you pass that user ID password, depending on that, it will authenticate the user and then start streaming that video to you. So that is also possible using CDN. Now compress objects automatically. What happens is, like, if you want to, you're giving some information to the user. Okay, what user says is, whenever, not user, in the CDN you can mention that I want to give that information in zipped format, because if it is huge data, I don't want people to go and access only raw data. I want it to, because it will be huge files, I want it to send in zipped format. CDN helps you uses a ZZIP format. Okay, that is the only thing it supports for compression. So in your users area, you should have a protocol to unzip that data. Okay, that is your headache, but Amazon allows you to zip your data and send it to your customer location. Okay, then there is price classes. Okay, price classes is important. If you see, there are three options. Use only US, Canada, and Europe. Use only and use all H locations. Best performance. What does it mean? Like if we are price sensitive, okay, this is the thing. The price classes is means your pricing of Amazon again is different in different locations, right? Because what happens is, if I'm like, if I'm in North California or I'm in Mumbai, if those regions are extensively used, if there are less resources, what happens? Immediately the cost is going to go high, right? Well, it is extensively used. People are, it is in demand, right? In demand, cost more. If less demand, less cost. Similarly, here also, Amazon works on that same basis. Like if any region is highly being used, their cost can be more. Or not only that, your real estate might be more, right? Real estate cost might be more, so they are giving you like expensive services. So that is how it works. So similarly here in this Cloudfront, I want edge locations, but I don't want to pay more in certain cases, right? So that is where you can choose. If I do all locations, definitely my website will work fast, definitely, because I'm using all locations, right, across all the world. Now if I say only US, Canada and Europe, what I'm assuming is my customers are there only in US, Canada and Europe. I'm okay for latency, to give latency for Indian customers or Japanese customers, right? But I don't want to pay for it. So those are to be expensive or whatever. Right? Similar thing, I can use US, Canada, Europe and Asia. Right? So it's all depends on what is your requirement. If you want to save cost, you are okay with latencies and all that. So it comes as a whole architecture. architectural requirement or business requirement. Okay, that is how it works. Now, as I said, Himanshu, if you have bought a domain, you can give a CNAME here, right? So that when people start accessing, they will not access with this kind of URL, right? I showed you that they will not use this kind of URL, abc123 cloudfront.net. They will start using something like this, mysite.com, but you have to define it here. Okay, and before defining, you have to create a domain name for yourself, right, using Route 53 or any GoDaddy and all that stuff. Okay, then SSL certificates, the security, right? SSL certificate for HTTPS is required. So there are three types of SSL certificates. Like this is default CloudFront certificate. Okay, that is free of cost given by Cloudfront. You want to select it, or you want to have a custom SSL certificate, right? If you have custom, you have bought it from somebody else. Okay, I'm not using it from Amazon, or I have bought it from somebody which is expensive FA generally. Okay, it costs around $600 per month and all that stuff depending on where you buy. So whether you want to do that or you want to use default CloudFront certificate, which we are going to do it now. Other thing is there is an service provided by, just like I spoke about, key management system for encryption keys, right? Similarly, here Amazon gives certificates, that is called, its service is called as ACM. Okay, so you create a certificate there and use it here. That is also possible, and that is free of cost. Okay, that is also not chargeable. See, if you see, it's like so exhaustive list is there, exhaustive things are there, and it is very useful for civilians. Now, if you see supported HTTP versions again, HTTP2, HTTP1, whichever you are using, you can start using it. You want to log this data into logging. If you want to log this into who is accessing, when it accessed, all that stuff. So for auditing purposes, you can log this into S3 buckets. Then you have to give S3 bucket name. Okay. As of now, this is what we will do. By default, we have not done many changes, only we did changes in this part, and we will create our distribution. Somebody has a question.